Okay, guys. So I think Afriforum may be onto something. Let me explain. Recently, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. It's Sunday, the 9th of Feb right now. They held, Afriforum that is, they held a press conference where, like, it was a long press conference, I think about an hour or so, where they explained their position on certain things. If you haven't been living under a rock, you would know that Trump signed an executive order that seeks to place certain sanctions on South Africa. So let's check out what they said, and we'll talk a bit about it shortly.
And poverty. What government is doing is not to take on SATU, that has a grip on schools, that means schools fail. That is why we have 80% dysfunctional schools. And if you have children going to a dysfunctional school, you have half the children that went to school 12 years ago not getting to matric. How are those children going to compete if they don't have the adequate education in the knowledge economy? So if we are going to say why are we failing, it's a government that does not focus on education. That they do more harm by not wanting to bring in mother tongue education, actually destroying mother tongue education. That is the reason why we are still struggling after 30 years. I'm not denying anything that helped in the past, but we need to now say, what are we going to do now? We cannot change what happened, but we can change what we are doing now.
Okay, so there's that part about mother tongue education. And I thought, it's crazy that some of us, especially the ones that grew up in the 80s or were born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, a lot of us had parents who couldn't help us with homework because a lot of them went through the Bantu education system and couldn't quite, or even some of them couldn't even go to school. Crazy, crazy stuff that was happening in apartheid.
By far the largest church denomination in the Union of South Africa is the Dutch Reformed Church, with a membership of almost 2 million white and non-white members. With us this morning is Dominique Adrian Berger, Secretary of the Federal Council of Dutch Reformed Churches and editor of Die Volkte, the Transvaal Church magazine. Dominique Berger, you believe in apartheid as a way of life?
Yes, I do.
Why?
In South Africa.
Why is that, sir?
Because the race, which is in a lesser state of development, is by far in the majority here. And numerically, of course, they are much stronger. And because also I believe that it is according to God's will that the white race, which is in the majority in this country, should be preserved. And also everything we have done in the last 300 years, built up in the church and in the state, should be preserved. And not be swallowed up by an, I wouldn't say inferior race, because I don't believe it is an inferior race, but a lesser a race which is in a lesser state of development, that's all.
Enough of the sob story. What I'm saying is the fact that people who are born English or who are English native get taught everything in that language. And then it got me thinking, why wouldn't you want to learn any subject in your own mother tongue, right? Like, why wouldn't you want that? A few weeks ago, I bumped into this post by Boer Totterbas, and it was about the Bella bill that the president signed into effect not too long ago. Then he says, so we solidaritate. It's a I don't know what solidaritate is, guys. If you know what solidaritate is, please put it in the comments below. It says they built their own university where their children can study in their own home language, Afrikaans. Beautiful, right? So it's a couple of Afrikaans speaking people who've gotten together to oppose the Bella bill. The Bella bill seeks to include other non-African speaking people into historically African speaking universities and schools, which would mean that geography would now start being taught in English as opposed to Afrikaans.
Yo guys, I'm so depressed as I speak right now. In the last moment, school is supposed to open in 2 days, and my grade 1 who's supposed to be going in grade 1 on Wednesday. He's enrolled in a African school. Not African school to say that they teach in English, no. They teach all the subjects in Afrikaans, except English itself as English. They teach it in English. The rest of the subject is Afrikaans. And mind you, the child only speaks English. And it's Monday. And there's no where the department has placed us except this school. So I'm seated here with a problem where I don't know how it's going to be resolved, because this Department of Education is so fuck up in such a way that fuck you. Fuck! What am I going to do with a child who's only studying English in an African school? I'm sitting on a departmental problem here. You fuck Department of Education, Basic Education, fuck you.
And then I pointed out like a few pros of learning in your own language, right? So first of all, there's the language barrier, hard to grasp complex terms. That's true. In order for me to understand what perpendicular or adjacent or in parallel, or in order for me to understand what that is, I first need to process it in my own language and then try to make sense of the term itself. It's hard to understand complex terms if you are not the natural speaker of that language. Cognitive strain. It divides attention between language and content. I've gone through this myself when I was in school. There were times when I'd look at a book, like an English written book, like maybe physics or maths or whatever, and find myself thinking in my mother tongue, thinking in my mother tongue and having to try and make sense of the words first before the sentence, before the paragraph. So you can imagine how long that takes as a cognitive load on you. You know what I mean? So it's hard, is what I'm trying to say. Confidence drop. A lot of people have dropped out of schools because they were called either domkop or slow or whatever. But it just means that because of the cognitive load and the language barrier, making that switch was not that easy. It's not because the person doesn't understand the whole concept. It's articulating it as well as like absorbing it as content. And there's that slower pace, that domkop situation. Takes more time to understand and express. It takes a lot. It takes a lot, guys. It may sound easy to some people or for some people because maybe at home you guys speak English, so your friends also speak English. So it's almost second nature. So it's easier for you to grasp concepts and be able to express them as well. Anyway, that's what I was saying with my response to that. Exams as well. Resource scarcity. We'll talk about this just now. If you like this episode so far, like and subscribe for more of this kind of stuff. All right. Takes an emotional toll on you. The benefits, right? What do you get from learning in your own mother tongue? Enhanced understanding. Concepts are grasped more easily when learned in the language that you think in. I thought that would be obvious, but it just makes sense. Improve cognitive development. Learning in your first language can boost cognitive skills and critical thinking. Think about it. The more you don't battle with trying to translate what this thing could mean and you understand the essence of the thing, thinking critically about that thing starts happening, automatically. So it doesn't mean that other people are not able to think deeply. It just means that there was too much of that cognitive load on you that prevented you from moving from this stage to that stage. And I think we've lost a lot of, very smart people, intelligent people because of the language barrier. I don't know if you've been like in a public place and like a kid from a multiracial school and a kid from like a village school are playing together. There's there's already that, there's differences in the level of confidence between the two kids. Better retention. If you understand the concept, you remember it better. That's just like a no-brainer, right? And then I finished it off with, which begs the question, why has Africa not translated the school curriculum to local languages? And I can already hear people in the comment section, oh, budget this, budget that. We are living in 2025 now, so that can no longer be an excuse. And I'll show you why that is right about now. This is DeepSeek. Around Gen 6, the Chinese startup that really nobody knew about launched into the scene with one of the most amazing artificial intelligence tools that I've ever seen. It's ridiculously smart, and I just learned the other day that it can do way more and potentially even save the South African or African child even, because these things are multilingual. Actually, enough yapping. Let me just show you what the damn thing does. Okay, write a paragraph about Tesla. Okay, Tesla, because Elon has been trending lately about Tesla in Setswana. So now, what makes DeepSeek that much more important or better or different from even like OpenAI and the other guys, even though of late they've launched their own deep thinking models? DeepSeek was really the first one to come out with a model that was able to think deeply about the question that you're asking. So instead of just stringing a couple of tokens together, it thought deeply about what exactly it is that you're asking and what are the different ways that it could give you the answer. So basically, it's just like you as a human. You think if you haphazardly answer, most of the time that answer is wrong. But if you sit down and really, really, really think about it, you most of the time come out with a better product. As I was yapping on, this thing was busy doing what it's doing. This in the gray text with a line on the side, this is the actual thinking process, right? And I love how it just starts with, okay, the user wants me to, right? So it basically thinks about what you just asked, and then it gets on to think about what kind of solution it can offer you. So it starts looking for search results. It finds a couple of web pages, and it tells you exactly how many web pages that it found up there. And you can see them on the side of the page when you just click on that arrow. And you can click on them to go see for yourself. It gets a couple of sources because it uses internet search, which is that little blue thing over there, and then DeepThink R1. So you need to have both of these things activated for you to get like this kind of depth. Anyway, and then it comes with the response, right? Funny. Oh, I did mention that it was Chinese, right? Didn't I? Yeah, I hope you guys saw that Chinese text thing there. Tesla ke kompone ya dikoloi tsa motlakase le ditshepediso tsa boikanyego. Yeo e hlomilego ke Elon Simpson. Okay. Oh, yeah. There's another thing, right? These things tend to hallucinate. And this is one of them. Elon Simpson got 2003. All right. So let's say now we know that, okay, that's not the correct situation. You can always come and regenerate. So I'm going to regenerate it and then see what else we get. Hopefully we don't get Elon Simpson. The server is busy. Please try again later. This happens a lot. And I'll tell you why. The time that I'm shooting this video is 16:44. So early evening. So pro tip, if you want to use things like DeepSeek, OpenAI, Google is quite all right across the day. But a lot of times Copilot and things like that, you want to use them in the morning up until around 1. Then you'll get like proper access to it. So this is what I was saying. These things can translate. So you can also use things like Copilot to translate. I found that it wasn't as good as DeepSeek. But what I'll do is I'll rerun that experiment. You can run it for yourself as well and tell me what you get. Anyway, guys, that was me. Tell me what you think of what Afriforum was saying, by the way, about the whole education system and people learning in their mother tongue, and whether we can use AI to help our kids understand the existing content and maybe get better engineers in the future. That's been me, guys. Simpson. Actually, Elon Simpson is a good character. Let me see if we can make Elon Simpson quickly. Great image. Mask as Son. It's not me, Elon. It's not me. It's not me. Oh, I love AI. Guys, you guys need to get on this stuff, eh? You guys need to get on this stuff, man. Okay. All right. So I mean, sure, that's Elon. But that doesn't look like Elon as maybe Elon is Homer.